Ondimba, born Alian Bernard Bongo, served as the third president of Gabon from 2009 till 2023 before he was overthrown from his office on 30th August 2023. He was born on February 9, 1959, in Brazzaville, the capital of the Republic of Congo, into the family of Albert Bernard Bongo, later changed name to Omar Bongo Ondimba. In 1973, conversion to Islam resulted in the family name changes. When Ali Bongo was 9 years old, he was sent to a private school in Noye, France, where he completed his education. He studied law at Sorbonne. During his youthful days, he showed an early passion for football and music, something he inherited from his mother, the Gabonese singer Patient Dambani. He released his first album titled A Brand New Man in 1977. Within 4 years of releasing his album, he entered politics fully in 1981. When he joined the Gabonese Democratic Party. His success in his political career was greatly enhanced by his father, Omar Bongo, who was the Gabon president from 1967 to his death in 2009. Bongo married his first wife, Sylvia Valentine, a French citizen, in 1989, and the couple has 4 children. He married his second wife, Ingo Collins, of Los Angeles, California, in 1994. However, in 2015, Collins filed for divorce. In 1983, he was elected to the PDG Central Committee, making him a member of his father's cabinet. He soon became his father's personal representative and was elected to the PDG Political Bureau in 1986. Bongo held the post of High Personal Representative of the Republic from 1987 to 1989, and he was then appointed as Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation, a position he held from 1989 to 1991. A constitutional amendment that set a requirement of age 35 for ministers resulted in his departure. From 1991 to 1999, Bongo represented Bongovela as a deputy in the National Assembly. He became the president of the Higher Council of Islamic Affairs of Gabon in 1996 and Minister of Defense in 1999. Bongo was re-elected to the National Assembly as the PDG candidate in La Haute-Ogooué province in 2001. He became vice president of the PDG in 2003, and by 2006, he was promoted to the rank of Minister of State, while retaining the position of Minister of Defense. He was re-elected as Vice President of the National Assembly in 2006 and in 2008. After the death of his father, President Omar Bongo, in 2009, some press reports predicted a power struggle, suggesting that a fierce rivalry existed between Bongo and his sister, Pascaline, who was the director of the presidential cabinet. The degree of support for Ali Bongo within the PDG leadership was also questioned in the press, and it was argued that many Gabonese see him as a spoiled child, born in Congo-Brazzaville, brought up in France, hardly able to speak the indigenous languages. A few days after the election, on 30th August 2009, it was announced that he had won the election with 52% of the vote, and the result was promptly confirmed by the Constitutional Court. The opposition rejected the official result and riot broke out in Gabon's second largest city, Port-Gentil. In response to allegation of fraud, the Constitutional Court conducted a recount before again declaring Bongo the winner with 41.79% of the vote on 2nd October 2009. He was then sworn in as president on 16th October. In 2018, Bongo suffered a stroke during a visit to Saudi Arabia for an investment conference. The president now walks with a cane and speaks slightly slower but still retains his position. The Bongo family was accused of turning Gabon into a kleptocratic regime, personally exploiting the country's natural resources and embezzling public monies. In 2017, the French news agency reported that after a thorough probe into the Bongo's family, the French police discovered assets including 39 properties in France and 9 luxury cars that belonged to the Bongo family. However, there was no sufficient evidence of alleged ill-gotten gains to charge any of the family members. An attempted coup d'etat failed in January 2019 and the rebels were arrested by the authorities. Mr. Bongo embarked on an image revamp, putting himself forward as a man of rigor. He bent on routing out traitors and profiteers in his inner circle. Roughly 1 month before the 2023 presidential elections, which were scheduled to be held on the 26th of August, the Gabonese Center for Election announced a last-minute change to the ballot system that requires voters to support a parliamentary candidate from the same party as their preferred presidential candidate. The leading opposition candidate, Abad Ondo Osa, is an independent, thereby making it impossible for Gabonese voters to simultaneously vote for him and a parliamentary representative. Of the multi-party Autonomous 2023 opposition coalition, which chose Osa as their joint candidate. Foreign media outlets and independent observers were reportedly prevented from entering Gabon on the day of the elections. Delays were reported at several polling stations, with people waiting in line for hours before getting the chance to cast their ballot. In the evening, after voting took place, the Gabonese government restricted internet access and media broadcasts from French news outlets, and a curfew was imposed. Just 2 hours before the polls closed, Ondo Osa denounced fraud orchestrated by the Bongo's camp. He had already claimed victory and urged Bongo to facilitate a peaceful transfer of power based on his own purported vote count. The official election results were announced in the middle of the night on state television without prior notice. The country was placed under curfew and internet access was cut off throughout the nation. These were measures implemented by the government to prevent the spread of false news and potential violence. In the early morning of 30th August 2023, Bongo's re-election was declared by the Gabonese Electoral Commission with 64.27% of the vote. Minutes later, the military seized the presidential palace in Libreville and around a dozen military personnel announced the end of Bongo's reign, with a military spokesperson claiming to be speaking on behalf of a Committee for the Transition and Restoration of Institutions. They also announced the annulment of the recent election, the dissolution of state institutions, and the closure of the country's borders. Among the officers seen during the announcement were army colonels and members of the Republican Guard. The junta later announced the arrest and home detention of Bongo and his eldest son and advisor, Nareda Bongo Valentin. The junta arrested several of Bongo's presidential aides. The aides were charged with treason, embezzlement, corruption, falsifying the presidential signature, and drug trafficking, amongst others. Despite his detention, Bongo released a video on social media in which he appeared distressed while pleading for help in English, calling on all his friends and supporters both in Gabon and around the world to raise their voice and make noise in response to the coup.